Zeta Prime was a beautiful planet, but only from far away. Its glowing towers and floating markets looked magical in pictures. But on the ground, it was different, especially for humans. Ava stood in the middle of the main plaza. She was just 17, small and quiet. Her clothes were simple, her eyes soft. She held the hand of her little brother Max, who was only 8 years old. They were waiting for the food unit line, surrounded by tall alien figures. No one looked at them kindly. Humans were not welcome here. Max whispered, "Ava, why are they staring at us?" Ava bent down and smiled. "Because we're different, but that's okay. We stay quiet, and we stay strong, just like Mom taught us." But that day, staying quiet wasn't enough. A group of armored alien soldiers walked through the plaza. Everyone stepped back, bowing slightly, showing respect and fear. These were enforcers, soldiers of the Zeta Empire. They wore black and silver armor and carried shock rods that could burn skin in one touch. One of them, taller than the rest, walked straight through the crowd with heavy boots. His skin was pale blue, with sharp lines across his face and eyes, like ice. Ava tried to move aside, pulling Max with her, but the alien officer didn't stop. He slammed his arm forward and slapped Ava across the face. The sound echoed like thunder. Ava fell hard to the ground, her lip bleeding. Max screamed and rushed to her side. The crowd froze. No one moved. No one helped. The officer laughed. "Filthy humans. Stay out of our way." He turned and kept walking, proud, powerful, cruel. Ava held her cheek and sat up slowly, trying to protect Max. Her body shook, not with pain, but with shame. She didn't cry, but someone else saw it all. Not far away, behind a row of fruit stalls, a man stood still. He had watched everything. His name was Ryker. He wore simple clothes and carried no weapons. He looked like any other worker in the market, but he was not. He was a soldier, a commander, a warrior who had fought in the human resistance years ago. He had disappeared after the war. No one knew where he went, until now. His hands clenched. His eyes locked onto the alien officer. He saw Ava bleeding. He saw Max crying, and something inside him snapped. He started walking. Each step was slow but strong. The people nearby felt the air change. Something heavy was coming. They moved aside without knowing why. The market grew quiet again. The officer didn't even see Ryker coming. In 3 seconds, everything changed. 1 second, Ryker appeared behind the alien officer and grabbed his helmet. 2 seconds, with unnatural strength, he twisted. 3 seconds. A crack echoed through the plaza. The alien's helmet broke. His head hit the ground like a rock. The enforcer lay still. Gone. The other soldiers turned, shocked. Their hands moved to their weapons, but Ryker didn't wait. He grabbed a shock rod and threw it like a spear. It hit the second enforcer in the chest, sending him flying. The third ran. The crowd started screaming, but no one ran. They watched. All of them. Aliens, humans, traitors, children. They watched the moment history shifted. A human had attacked. The Empire. Again. Ryker walked toward Ava and Max. His face was calm, but his eyes burned with fire. Ava looked up and gasped. "Ryker?" He bent down and gently helped her stand. He checked her face, then looked at Max. "You okay, little guy?" Max nodded, wide-eyed. Ava whispered, "You're back." Ryker nodded. "I saw what he did. I wasn't going to let it pass." She whispered, "They'll come for you now." Ryker looked at the crowd. Many were recording with their devices. Others looked scared, but most were silent. And they were watching him with new eyes. He spoke loud enough for all to hear, like, "Them come. We're not weak anymore. Not afraid." He turned to leave with Ava and Max, disappearing into the crowd. But news traveled fast, and what Ryker did would start a fire across the stars. Ava sat on the floor of the old workshop, her back against the cold metal wall. She held Max close, his head resting on her shoulder. Outside, the stars of Zeta Prime shined through the cracked window. Inside, everything was silent, except for the sound of Ryker's hands working quickly on an old comm device. Ryker had brought them to a hidden place, a forgotten repair shed deep under the market zone. No one came here anymore. Not even the enforcers. But Ryker knew every dark corner of this city. He moved fast, calm, but focused. His mind was already preparing for what would come next. They would send soldiers, not just street enforcers. This time they would send the Skull Guard, the personal force of the Zeta Command. He had seen them in the war, cold, brutal, unbreakable. But they had never faced him alone before. Ava looked at him. Her voice was soft. "Why did you do it?" Ryker didn't stop working. "Because he thought he could hurt you and walk away." But he was an officer. Ryker looked up. His eyes were hard. "Doesn't matter what he was. He laid a hand on my people. He crossed the line," Max whispered. "What if they find us?" "They will," Ryker said. "That's the point." Ava didn't understand. "You want them to find us?" Ryker stood up and walked to the door. "I want them to send a message back to their empire. That humans don't kneel anymore." 30 minutes later, the trap was ready. The Skull Guard arrived in silence. Black ships landed without warning. The streets outside went dark. The air filled with the heavy sound of metal boots and power armor. There were 12 of them. Big, armed, and dangerous. Inside the workshop, Ryker stood in the center of the room. His jacket was off. His arms showed old scars and new muscles. His face calm like stone. Ava and Max were hidden behind a wall. Ava watched through a crack. She whispered, "They're coming." Ryker didn't move. The door exploded open. Smoke and dust filled the room as the first 3 Skull Guards stepped in with weapons raised. "Ryker!" one of them shouted. "Surrender! You are outnumbered!" Ryker didn't reply. Instead, he reached behind his back and pulled out 2 rods. Not alien weapons. Not energy guns. Just metal bars. The Skull Guards laughed. One moved forward. Ryker moved faster. In 1 second, he closed the distance. In 2 seconds, his rod hit the guard's helmet with a loud clang. In 3 seconds, the helmet cracked. Then, the skull underneath broke, just like the first officer. The other 2 stepped back in shock. Ryker didn't stop. He threw 1 rod like a missile. It hit another guard in the throat, crushing his voice box. He jumped toward the last one and smashed. His head into the wall, 3 down, 9 left. The room filled with shouting, flashes of light, electric blasts, sparks, and smoke. Ava covered Max's eyes, but she kept watching. Her heart was racing. Outside, the crowd was gathering again. More cameras, more whispers. This was not just a fight. It was becoming a message. A human, alone, was taking down the best soldiers in the galaxy. Inside, Ryker moved like lightning. He didn't fight like other humans. His body was faster, stronger, almost unnatural. Some guards fired their blasters, but Ryker dodged every shot. One got close, but he grabbed the gun and broke it in 2. Another pulled a plasma sword. Ryker caught it with his bare hand and broke the blade. The last Skull Guard, the captain, stepped back. He realized what others hadn't. This was no ordinary man. This was the soldier they had failed to kill during the Resistance War. The ghost, the rebel, the one called the Skullbreaker. He whispered in fear, "You're supposed to be dead." Ryker walked up to him, silent. "I was," he said. Then, he grabbed the captain's helmet and crushed it with 1 hand. The body dropped to the floor. The fight was over. 12 in. None came out. Ava came out slowly, holding Max. You did all that alone," she said in shock. Ryker nodded. He looked at the broken guards around him. "It's not about how many soldiers they send," he said. "It's about how many we're willing to stand up to." Ava looked at the door. The crowd outside was still watching. "They recorded all of this," she said. Ryker smiled. "Good. Let them share it." He walked outside. Dozens of aliens, humans, traders, and travelers stared at him in silence. He raised his voice. "Let the galaxy know. Humans will never be silent again." The video of Ryker breaking the Skull Guard spread across the galaxy like fire in dry grass. Within hours, millions had seen it. A human had crushed elite alien soldiers, alone. He didn't use guns. He didn't speak much. But his actions screamed. louder than any war speech. People started calling him the Skull Breaker again, just like in the war. On Earth, people watched and cried. On alien colonies, they whispered in fear. And on Zeta Prime, the Empire burned with rage. Inside a massive, black tower floating above the planet, Supreme Commander Cyrax slammed his fist onto a glass table. The image of Ryker's face flickered in front of him. "That human," he growled, "has embarrassed our command in front of every system." A soldier in silver armor stood beside him. "Orders, sir?" Commander Cyrax didn't even blink. "We will not chase Ryker. That's what he wants. No. We take the girl." The officer raised an eyebrow. "The girl?" Cyrax nodded. "Yes, the one he protected. She's his weakness. Hurt her, and Ryker will come crawling to us." He turned toward the dark screen showing Ava and Max walking through the lower zones of the city. "Find her. Bring her alive." Ava was walking, with Max through an old passage that Ryker had told them about. It was narrow, with rusted pipes and flickering lights. They were supposed to meet Ryker at the safe house near the cargo port. But suddenly, Max stopped. "Ava," he whispered. "Something's not right." Ava looked around, then everything went black. A hard metal hand covered her mouth from behind. Two more grabbed Max. Stun charges buzzed. Ava screamed, but no sound came out. A sharp needle touched her neck, and darkness swallowed her. When Ava woke up, she was inside a cold room. Gray walls, no windows, no clock. Just a single blue light above her. She sat up. Her head hurt. Max was gone. Her hands were tied to the metal chair. She shouted, "Max! Where's my brother?" No answer. Then the door opened. A tall alien walked in. His armor had red marks, higher rank. His eyes were sharp, full of pride. "I am Commander Vex," he said. "And you, human girl, are a very valuable guest." Ava stared at him. "Where's my brother?" He smiled. "Safe. For now. Depends on how fast Ryker comes." Ava's heart sank. She knew what this was. A trap. "Ryker won't fall for this," she said. Vex chuckled. "Oh, he will. Because he thinks with his heart. That's his weakness." He walked out, leaving her alone again. Back at the safe house, Ryker waited. Hours passed. They never came. His hands tightened. His mind raced. Then the signal came. A hologram flashed in front of him. It was a live video. Ava, chained, scared, alone. A robotic voice spoke. "If you want her back, come to the Black Fortress." Then the signal ended. Ryker didn't speak. He stood up. He put on his old armor, the one from the war. He picked up his shock rods and strapped a blade to his leg. Then he tapped a device on his wrist. A silent signal pulsed through space. It was time. In a hidden base far from Zeta Prime, a group of humans looked at their screens. The signal had arrived. One of them stood up. She was tall, with a scar over her left eye. "Ryker has called us," she said. Others stood beside her. Old friends, old fighters, people who had vanished after the war but never gave up. They were called the Human Defenders. And now, they were coming back. In the prison cell, Ava sat in silence. She whispered to herself, "He's coming. I know he is." But outside her door, Commander Vex spoke to his men. "When Ryker comes, we don't kill him. We break him, in front of her." The soldier asked, "What if he doesn't come alone?" Vex smirked. "Let him bring an army. This is our fortress." But what Vex didn't know was, the Human Defenders weren't just any army. They were ghosts, legends, and they were already inside the walls. Inside the Black Fortress, the air was heavy. Metal doors hissed open and closed as guards marched through long, dark halls. Every wall had hidden cameras. Every corner had scanners. This place wasn't just a prison, it was a weapon. Ava sat quietly in her cell, her hands now untied, but the room still locked tight. She hadn't eaten in hours. Her eyes were tired, but her mind stayed sharp. She kept thinking of Max and Ryker. She believed Ryker would come. But she also knew this place wasn't like the market. Here, The walls were alive. The floors listened, and the guards didn't show mercy. The silence was broken when the cell door opened. A small figure walked in, not a guard, a cleaner. He was short, thin, and his face was hidden under a cap. He placed a food tray on the floor and turned to leave. But as he moved, he whispered, without looking, "Don't eat it." Ava blinked. "What?" The cleaner stopped by the door. Still, not looking at her, he whispered again, "They want to make you weak, drugged. Pretend you ate." Then he walked out. The door locked behind him. Ava stared at the tray. It looked normal. Bread, water, some meat strips. But now she saw it clearly. The water had tiny bubbles, too still. The food smelled slightly bitter. She pushed the tray aside. Who was that man? An ally. Far below the prison tower, in the underground utility shafts, Ryker crouched in total darkness. He was covered in dust and sweat. His armor was scratched, but quiet. Behind him were 5 other shadows. The human defenders. Each one was silent. Each one had fought before. They didn't speak much. They didn't need to. They had a mission. Ryker pointed upward. "She's on level 9, isolation block. They're expecting me to come loud. We go quiet." The tall woman behind him, the one with the scar, nodded. "We split into 2 teams. We cut their power from the inside. Then we hit them in the dark." Ryker looked up the vent shaft. He remembered Ava's eyes. He whispered, "They took the wrong girl." Back in the tower, Ava sat on the cold floor, trying to stay awake. Suddenly, her door opened again. This time, Commander Vex walked in. He smiled, slow and cruel. "Hungry?" Ava stayed silent. "I see you didn't eat." "Smart girl," Vex said. "But it won't help. Ryker will come. We'll kill him. You'll watch. Then we'll take your little brother." At that, Ava stood. "You're scared," she said. Vex's smile vanished. "What did you say?" "You talk too much," she said. "That means you're afraid of him." Vex stepped forward, but just then, the lights went out. Total darkness. A loud alarm started to buzz. Red emergency lights blinked. Then, gunfire, shouts, explosions. Vex spun around. "What?" A voice came through his earpiece. "Sir, power core just exploded. We're under attack." Vex cursed. "Lock the cell. Stay here." He ran out. Ava smiled. She knew. Ryker was here. On level 6, Ryker slammed a guard into the wall. 2 more came from the side. But the scarred woman threw a smoke bomb. Within seconds, the corridor was full of gas. Human shadows moved through it like ghosts. They didn't just fight, they hunted. Every time the skull guard thought they had surrounded them, a trap was already waiting. Inside the control room, 2 technicians tried to reboot the security grid. But then a blade pierced the door. The power went out again. Then, silence. Then the main screen showed a single word. "He's here." Commander Vex shouted at his soldiers, "Get to the girl! They're coming for her!" But it was too late. In the dark hallway near Ava's cell, the same small cleaner stood silently. He looked up and pulled off his cap. He was human, his eyes sharp, a former spy. He turned to Ava's cell door, pulled a keycard from his belt and swiped it. The lock clicked open. Ava stepped out. "You?" He nodded. "Name's Kilo. Used to fight with Ryker." "You're with them?" "We never left. Let's move." He handed her a shock rod. She held it tight. "Where's Max?" she asked. "In the south wing. We'll get him." Then they ran into the smoke-filled halls, heading toward the final part of the fortress. Somewhere above, Ryker moved toward the isolation block. He had one goal: find Ava. But Vex was waiting for him, with 6 elite skull guards, all armed, all ready. Ryker looked up the long metal hallway. He took a breath and stepped forward. Ava followed Kilo through the smoke-filled hallway, her hand tight on the shock rod. Alarms screamed around them, and the fortress lights blinked in red pulses. The whole structure felt alive and angry. But she didn't care. She had only one thought in her mind: find Max. Kilo moved like a shadow. He knew every turn, every security blind spot. His voice was calm even in chaos. South Wing, third block, that's where they keep younger prisoners. Ava nodded, her heart racing. Is he guarded? Always. 2 skull guards minimum. But they're distracted now. They stopped at a locked door. Kilo tapped on a small screen beside it. I need 30 seconds. Ava looked down the hallway. Smoke shifted. Shadows moved. Then footsteps. Heavy. Fast. They found us, she whispered. Kilo didn't look up. 20 seconds. The footsteps grew louder, closer. Ava raised her shock rod, trying to steady her breath. Suddenly, 2 armored guards stepped. Out of the smoke, one raised a blaster. Ava didn't wait. She threw the rod straight into the guard's chest. The charge exploded, sending him crashing into the wall. The second guard lunged forward, but Kilo pulled a blade from his belt and struck low, right at the knee joint. The guard dropped. Then Kilo finished the code. The door slid open. Inside, Max sat alone in a corner, his hands chained. Ava! He shouted. She ran to him, grabbed him in a hug, then began unlocking the chains. Max looked around in fear. Where's Ryker? He's coming, Ava said. But we have to move. Kilo checked his tracker. Meet-up points in the west. Yard. Move fast and low. They slipped out, moving like ghosts through the fire and smoke. Meanwhile, on the upper level, Ryker walked slowly down a long corridor. The red lights reflected on his armor. His hands were covered in bruises. His chest was bleeding from a blade strike, but he didn't stop. At the end of the hallway, 6 skull guards stood waiting, and behind them, Commander Vex. He held a long plasma spear. Vex stepped forward. I warned you, Skullbreaker. This is our fortress. Your people will die here. Ryker stared at him. His voice was low. You took a child. That was your first mistake. Vex smiled. And your last mistake is thinking you can walk out of here alive. He raised his hand. Kill him. The 6 guards rushed forward. Ryker moved like a storm. He didn't dodge. He didn't step back. He charged. The first 2 guards aimed their rifles, but Ryker ducked low and swept their legs. One crashed into the wall, the other lost his weapon. The third attacked from the side, but Ryker caught his helmet and smashed it into the floor. The fourth stabbed forward with a blade. Ryker blocked it with his arm, then headbutted him. So hard the guard flew back. Only 2 remained. One raised a blaster, but Ryker kicked it from his hands and struck him in the throat. The last guard hesitated. That was his mistake. Ryker spun, grabbed him by the chest armor, and threw him over the railing down into the fire below. Then he turned to Vex. The commander looked stunned. You're not human. Ryker stepped closer. I'm what you made me. Vex screamed and charged with the plasma spear. Ryker dodged the first strike. The second one grazed his side. But then Ryker grabbed the spear shaft and snapped it. Ian too. Before Vex could react, Ryker drove his fist into the commander's chest. The sound of cracking armor echoed in the hall. Vex dropped to his knees, coughing blood. You can't win, he whispered. Ryker leaned down. I already did, and with one final blow, it was over. In the West Yard, Kilo led Ava and Max to a transport ship, already running. The scarred woman from the Human Defenders waved them in. Where's Ryker? Ava was about to answer, when Ryker stepped out of the smoke, limping, but alive. Max ran to him. You came, he said. Ryker smiled faintly. I said I would. The Defenders pulled them inside the ship. Engines roared. Above, the fortress alarm screamed, but they were too late. The ship lifted into the sky, fire and smoke behind them. As they flew away, Ava sat beside Ryker. You knew this would happen, didn't you? She asked. Ryker looked out the window. They always come after what we love. The only way to stop them is to show them we're not afraid. Max asked, What now? Ryker turned to him. Now, he said. We start the war. 3 days passed since the escape from the Black Fortress. The video of Ryker defeating the Skull Guards and killing Commander Vex spread across every corner of the galaxy. Some called it rebellion, others called it hope, But for the humans, it was something more. It was a beginning. Ava sat inside a hidden outpost with Max, watching news flashes on a dusty screen. Former war hero Ryker breaks into Empire's fortress. Frees prisoners. Defeats Skullguard commander. Max looked at his sister. Everyone is watching. Ava nodded. They're waiting. Waiting for someone to fight back. And just then, the door opened. Ryker entered, wearing his black armor, cleaned and repaired, but still carrying marks of war. Behind him, the remaining human defenders walked in, each one ready, each one quiet. Ryker stood at the front of the room. "We can't run anymore," he said. The room fell silent. "They've ruled for too long with fear, but now they fear us, and that fear is power." He pointed at the map on the screen. Red dots covered it. Empire bases, factories, control centers. Tonight we strike back. Hours later, across 10 systems, human colonies went dark. Empire sensors failed. Their patrols vanished. One by one, human defenders rose from hiding. Men, women, even children, carrying weapons, messages, fire in their eyes. A revolution had begun. On Zeta Prime, Empire leaders gathered in panic. "How did they spread so fast?" one general shouted. Another whispered, "It's Ryker. He's not just a soldier anymore. He's a symbol." Supreme. Commander Cyrax slammed his fist on the table. "Then we crush the symbol." He pointed at the galaxy map. "Send the fleet. Every ship. Burn every human colony that resists." In space, hundreds of ships turned toward Earth, toward Mars, toward the free moons. But what they didn't know was, the humans were already waiting. In orbit around planet Rho 7, Ryker stood aboard a stolen command ship, looking at the stars. Behind him were other rebel ships, small, fast, but powerful. Ava stood beside him, now wearing armor of her own. She wasn't the same scared girl anymore. Max was with the tech crew, controlling drones. Ryker looked at the screen. A warning. Flashed Empire fleet detected. Incoming, Ava asked. "We're outnumbered. What if we don't make it?" Ryker smiled. "Then we go down fighting. But I believe something else will happen." "What?" "They'll see us. They'll remember what it means to be human." In the stars above, the Empire fleet appeared. Massive warships. Dozens of destroyers. Thousands of soldiers. They launched their first strike, missiles roaring through space, but the defenders were ready. They scattered. They countered. 1,000 battles began in one moment, and in the middle of it, Ryker flew straight into the storm. He led a strike team into the heart of the enemy flagship, the one carrying Commander Cyrax. Inside the ship, alarms rang loud. Empire soldiers blocked every corridor. But Ryker moved fast. Silent. Deadly. Ava followed. Him, blade in hand. Kilo was on their left, hacking control panels. Max was in their earpieces, guiding them step by step. They fought to the center, to the bridge. There stood Cyrax, tall, armored in dark silver, glowing red eyes. He turned as Ryker entered. "So," Cyrax said, "you returned to die." Ryker stepped forward. "No. I came to end you." The two clashed. Sparks flew. Cyrax struck hard, his strength crushing walls. But Ryker was faster, and angrier. The battle shook the ship. Ava joined, striking from the side. Kilo disabled the enemy's shields. Then Max's voice came through the comms. "Ryker, it's now or never." With one final strike, Ryker drove his blade through Cyrax's chest. The commander gasped. "You were just human." Ryker whispered. "Exactly." And then Cyrax fell. The rest of the Empire fleet broke apart. Their leader was gone, and in every corner of the galaxy, screens flashed a single message. The Empire has fallen. Later, on the surface of Earth, humans gathered in millions. They stood together under the open sky for the first time in years. No fear, no chains, just freedom. Ryker stood on a platform looking down at the crowd. Ava and Max stood beside him. He raised his fist. "We are not soldiers anymore," he said. "We are defenders. Of each other. Of our future." The people cheered. The stars above felt closer. The war was over. But the story had just begun.